Hey everybody, Tommy Clayton here, OpenSciEd middle school teacher and lesson writer. Today we're going to dig into lesson 10 from unit 8.2, where we're really trying to figure out how sound can make something move. So this lesson is going to build upon what we started to figure out in 9, which is that the medium is like disturbed. This is a really cool lesson. This is like where we really get to see a sound wave for the first time using this simulation and sort of like have this big aha moment that sound is sort of like not really a thing, but really just like a movement of energy through the medium. So let's dig in and take a look at this. We're gonna see how we got here. So remind ourselves what we figured out in lesson 9. We'll take a look at this lesson at a glance. We'll dig into a few key moments, and we'll leave you with some tips and tricks and some material management strategies. All right, so let's remind ourselves how we got here. So in lesson 9, we started to really dive into the abstract, right? Started to really think about what the medium could look like. And so we did a little bit of modeling with solids, liquids, and gases. We did a little bit of kinesthetic modeling, and then we started to think about like, what's going to happen when an object is vibrating and it like is pushing in and moving back and forth into the medium. And so in this lesson, we're wondering like, what exactly is traveling across the medium? Like what's actually happening there? All right, let's take a look at this lesson at a glance. So this is going to be a 2-day lesson. It's an investigation lesson. It could take you about 15 minutes to get things set up. There is no hands-on in this one. We're going to be working a lot with simulations. So students will need devices. And there are no additional related videos. Okay, so let's take a look at how this sort of all breaks out. So this is going to be a 2-day lesson. And so here's this first big chunk. You're going to spend most of the first day getting students oriented to the simulation and then giving them some time to actually like collect some observations from it. And then we're going to close this lesson by like navigating out to describe like what we are seeing, and that chunk flows into the next day. And so in this first chunk, what we're really hoping students are going to walk away with is that there are like areas of the medium that are sort of compressed, and then there's areas of it that are like spread out. And so on this next day, when we get into really putting it together, we're going to have a scientist circle and make sense of our observations, do a little bit of adding to our progress tracker. And then we're going to return to our related phenomena and think about like how we can now sort of explain, like, how can you hear underwater, right? Or how is the truck like shaking the window? Or like, how come I can hear the math teacher in the other classroom through the wall? Okay, so in this first big chunk, we really start to put together our observations. So really figuring out that amplitude and frequency like change the pattern of the medium. And we really name what is moving across the medium, and that's energy, right? So sound wave is really just this like transfer of energy with this like repeating pattern. Okay, and so we close out day 2 by returning to that related phenomena and thinking about how we can explain that using this sound wave model that we've seen in the simulation. Okay, so here's what we ultimately figure out, that when an object moves back and forth, it makes areas of the medium have like compressed areas and expanded areas. The density of those like compressed and spread out areas really depends on the amplitude, right? So like you're gonna have these thicker bands of squished particles, as I would say with my students, when things are much louder, have a greater amplitude. And the distance between the bands can change depending on how there are changes to that frequency. And ultimately, it's a series of collisions, like a chain reaction that's transferring energy from the sound maker all the way to that sound detector. All right, let's take a look at a couple of key moments here. So we do a little bit of navigating in and adding to our progress tracker from what we figured out from 9. And then in part 3, we need to map our simulation, right? So this is where we make sense of like what will actually be in the simulation and what it represents. So we have this moving rectangle in the simulation that represents sort of like, it could be the surface of the drum. It could be the surface of like the tuning forks we worked with. It could be the surface of the speaker, right? Whatever it is. And then we have these dots on the screen, and those represent the particles in our medium. And you're going to notice that they're a little bit closer together than maybe we might model air, and that's okay. It's really going to help us just to see these collisions and make sense of that transfer of energy. Okay, so in part 4, students work with a partner and they get to actually get into the simulation and interact with it. And you can see this is sort of what it looks like. And they have the ability to change the loudness or the amplitude and change the pitch or the frequency and see how that changes. And so the reason they need to work with a partner is they need to have those screens sort of side by side to compare their changes and really be able to see how the changing the loudness or the pitch is going to affect that medium and those patterns. Then in part 7, so after they've made sense of things, we're going to come together in a scientist circle, and this is where we're going to really make sense of how the changes to loudness and pitch affect that. So you can see some comparisons here, and this is where you may want to have the simulation sort of projected so that you can share it with students as you're talking through this in the scientist circle. And one thing that is super important is out of this conversation, we want to make sure that students are understanding that energy is the thing that's transferring, right? The particles are actually staying sort of where they are. They're moving back and forth, but they're not going all the way across, right? It's more the energy that is the thing that's actually transferring. And those bands are not really actually moving. It's like an optical illusion. So a couple of things you may want to call out during that scientist circle with your students. Okay, so after students do that, we add to our progress tracker, and then we return to the related phenomena. And that gets us ready for the next lesson. In lesson 11, we are going to put it all together, and we're going to really explain a related phenomena. So students are going to see the teacher hit a drum, and the salt on a piece of shrink wrap over a bowl sort of near the drum will dance and move. And so they'll work during that lesson to model that, and it'll give you a chance to really check in to see how students are putting all of the ideas together before you move forward in the unit. All right, so a couple of tips and tricks for this lesson. The first is you may think, I'm short on time. I really want to skip this part where we map the simulation and just let students like play around with it. I tried that once. It didn't go so well. They were really confused about what they were looking at. So I really recommend taking the time to help students really understand and name the different parts in the simulation. It will pay off as they get in and do the work around that. In part 7, where students have the devices side by side, you could also use a projector to help students to compare what they are doing. So maybe leave, the loudness or the pitch all the way down, and that can help students also like compare what they have in front of them to what's up on the board or on the projector. And sometimes it's a little tough to make sense of like the patterns that you're seeing. So sometimes I found it easy to ask students to sort of relax their eyes or like step back from their computer and sort of like see the pattern as a whole to help them see that there's sort of these thicker bands or thinner bands, or there's more of them as they're trying to figure out some of the patterns related to amplitude and frequency. Okay, 2 new words that you're going to add in this lesson. The first is wavelength. So we introduced the idea of this measurement of distance between the compression bands. So like high frequency, you're going to have those shorter wavelength, and lower frequency are going to have a much bigger wavelength. And then we finally get to name sound wave. This is the first time we actually get to see it, name what it is. And so both of these we're going to add to the word wall during the consensus discussion in part 7. No new posters, no callbacks to old posters in this lesson. So nothing you need to worry about there. All right, and that's going to do it for us. So really cool lesson. I think kids are going to be kind of excited that they finally get to name what a sound wave is and really understand what it looks like. Come back and join us for lesson 11. That's when we're going to put this all together and have kids explain a related phenomena. We look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks.